Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel on YouTube, where I've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 47. That's right. This is going to be the very first bit of content that we're going to drop here on the Nullified Take channel in regards to Survivor 47. And what I'm going to do today is something a little bit different. I'm going to react to a Survivor 47 cast video that has all of the different cast members on it. And it's going to be from Survivor Geeks channel on YouTube. So this is the channel that I'm looking at. So go give him a subscription there if you don't follow him yet. And if you're a big Survivor fan, I want to just look at the cast today for the very first time. So you're getting an authentic reaction here from me in regards to it. I have been completely off the grid when it comes to Survivor 47. I have enjoyed the off season. I know that there have been plenty of content creators that have been smashing out content on Survivor, but I've been recording and podcasting about it nonstop for the last 2.5 years. So I have actually enjoyed taking a massive step backwards. But for this one here, for your enjoyment, we're going to watch all of the cast reveal video together. And I'm going to give you my thoughts on the cast.
Hey Survivor Geeks, please like, share, and subscribe. Check out my Survivor puzzle app and my merchandise store. The links are below in the description.
There are some Survivor fans, honestly, that does a lot, and this is really cool. Got puzzles, got merchandise, even got some names on the buffs. Like, I don't really need to step up my game. This is what it takes to get to 100,000 subs instead of 2,500 like I have.
I am exuberant, curious, and calculated. Calculated being my favorite word.
Calculated. Let's see. Annika Dar, age 27, occupation marketing manager, hometown Santa Rosa, California, currently residing in Los Angeles, California, 26.
On dating apps, one of my prompts is I'm convinced that I can win Survivor, and I've been collecting all the different responses.
I need to know from people in the comment section, how many of you put Survivor on your dating app? So my co-host Jake for Survivor US, actually, I believe either him or his girlfriend had something about Survivor on it. He told me the story quite recently, and that is how they connected, because they saw that both of them were Survivor fans, and that's the thing that brought them together. So it's crazy to me to think that Survivor has brought people together, not just on the show, but even just by being fans of the show. People have come together and have started relationships. There are Survivor babies on the show and off the show, which is insane. Let that sink in.
Responses of all these different men. You're not going to win if I'm on the show, or you really think you're going to win? If you doubt my skill set, red flag.
To be honest, she would never have won if I was on the show.
You're mentioning players like Parvati and Boston Rob to me, green flag. I'm a manager of finance and operations. It's a very strategic role. I gather all of the data points. I analyze them, knowing how to move the business forward if we are doing good or bad. Same thing in Survivor. I'm going to have to continuously update my gameplay based on how things go.
You know what's the difficult thing about Survivor currently? And I'm sorry I'm pausing it a lot, but Survivor is difficult right now as a game because there is no data points almost that you can follow. Like, you know, how do you predict when the right time is to get on the boat to go to Decision Island, where you could either lose a vote or you could gain this very game-changing advantage, right? Or you think that you're in a merge, but it's not really a merge. Or, you know, like I feel like Jeff does everything in his power to make the game so unpredictable that someone like her, who's all about data points and like, oh, I can go off data for X, Y, and Z, and, you know, math says 2 + 2 is 4. And then Jeff goes there and he's like, no, 2 + 2 is actually 5. Like, you know, you have to be able to be adaptable, I feel like, beyond anything else in Survivor these days. And maybe she does have that. I mean, I'm going off, I don't know, 50 seconds worth of video here, but I almost feel like somebody that's very analytical, very strategic to that sense, where they want the game to be something that they can game and predict. Like Jeff goes out of his way to make the game unpredictable.
Because I did grow up in a predominantly white area, I did change things about myself in order to fit in. It took me some time to fully embrace who I am instead of trying to run away or hide from it. And I think it's the perfect timing for me to go into a game meeting people as who Annika is.
Seems like
if I were introducing myself, I would say this is John Lovett. He is a former presidential speechwriter and TV writer. He is now a podcast host, and he's best in small doses.
best in small doses. Like that is funny as hell. Like if people tell you that you're best in small doses, it means you're too much energy. Which, you know, a couple of seasons ago, I would have thought Marianne was a little bit like that, and she ended up winning the season. So it's not necessarily going to be a bad thing for him. So John Lovett, 42, podcast host, Long Island, New York, Los Angeles. What is he a podcast host of? I need to just quickly check this out and see if I can find anything on him. Love it or leave it. Former Obama speechwriter and self-described comedian John Lovett is joined live on stage by killer lineup of comics and journalists and politicians. Okay. So he was an Obama speechwriter. Interesting.
Being a speechwriter is about figuring out the best way to convince a bunch of people to either come along with you or agree with you or support you. I think that's a lot of what Survivor is. Final Tribal, it's a political campaign, it's an election, and it is very fun to think about. But I know that if I'm thinking about that, I'm not thinking about what I have to do to get there. When Pod Save America listeners and Love It or Leave It listeners discover that the reason I was gone for 5 weeks is to be on Survivor, they're going to think that that is bananas. But there was something really exciting about putting that aside to focus on this game where everybody starts at zero, and it'll be okay. Once I get talking, you'll see. It's worse for me than it is for you. I'm just an odd person.
I love
It's funny because I feel like John Lovett is like the classical casting choice of Jeff Probst these days. Like he loves people that are oddballs. I spoke to Mucky about this a couple of weeks ago where I said to him, because Mucky's not a fan of Survivor US at all these days. Like he only watches Australian Survivor. And I said to him, but it kind of feels like, you know, if you had like a bunch of Johnny Cochrans now on a season, that's, and I know I'm like over exaggerating. There are still some people that are not like that, but they like to cast a lot of oddballs more so than what they did in the past. So you either love that or you don't. Like for me personally, I love balance and I love seeing everyday people out there that I can relate to. I relate a little bit less to sometimes the oddballs, so I don't know how much I will relate to John Lovett. But again, this is very minimal clips that we're seeing here, and I'm always super open to going into a season and changing my mind about absolutely loving a character on the show, you know. So but it just feels like, I don't know if people agree with me, let me know in the comment section. Like it's like we've got this group of oddballs now that we're consistently putting on Survivor, and that is Jeff's new go-to when he now casts
people. I love games. I love like challenging myself. I love money. So like, what is there not to love about Survivor?
Like her, because she loves money. I love money. If I was to go on Survivor, it would only be for the money. Like let's get the cash. The experience is secondary, right? Graphic designer, Dexter, Michigan, Southfield, Michigan.
I design user interfaces. When you're using an app, you don't necessarily notice the color, or like the buttons or the typography that's being used. All of those things should feel really seamless. That's how I want to integrate myself in this game. No one's really like actually paying attention to the fact that I'm there all the time. I'm weird and I'm like quirky and just like a little neurotic and a little too much at times. And I think my husband Derek is the absolute foil to my personality. We just like really balance each other out. I hope that I can find somebody out here that has similar characteristics and is able to keep me in check.
I feel like she's going to have no problem meeting people that have got similar characteristics compared to her out there. Like I just said, she again fits that mold of someone that's a bit of an oddball getting onto the season. There's going to be plenty of people like that. A lot of quirky personalities for her to jive with out there, I'm sure.
I've been thinking about this Goldilocks complex. Not too smart, but not unstrategic. Not too physical, but not too weak. Just being right in that like middle spot. That's key to winning.
And it's like, I feel like a great observation. Like you don't want to stand out. You don't want to be the strongest. You don't want to be the most strategic. You don't want to be the most social out there. You kind of want to ride that middle way for New Age Survivor, get close to the end, then take out the big threat and win the season. That is like, I feel like almost like a meta strategy in this current age of Survivor. So she knows what she needs to do. Can she go out there and actually do it when she's deprived of food and living in a dire situation out on an island without any creature comforts?
I have the ability to charm and disarm. This is a social game. Like, that's really good. I work in computer learning and natural language. It's the science of language. Survivor, it's a game of conversations. And so I'm going to be especially attuned to that social element of the game. I was really, really close with my cousin Ashley. She named me the godfather to her firstborn. A year later, we lost Ashley to domestic violence, and they don't have parental figures. I can be someone that they can look up to. What better way of showing that than like following my dream? I can come back home and look at Chasey and say, this is how you live life. People are looking at me and thinking that I am another Austin, solid, dependable, but ultimately beatable. If people see that in me, I can capitalize on that and just play like a snake.
I totally agree. Like when I first saw him, I thought, okay, he looks like an Austin copy and like that new age Aussie Malcolm type of archetype. A little bit more neurotic, nerdy, maybe a little bit like in regards to that, but looks like such a lovable guy. And really sad to hear about, I believe it was his sister, he said, which now means that he's sort of that father figure for the kids. So yeah, like, I mean, who wouldn't want to shout for Andy at this stage? He seems like a really likable guy. It's going to be interesting. Like for me, likability is so important when it comes to castaways. And then also dislikability. Even like if I've got someone that I'm like, I'm not big on this person, the show needs heels. Like it needs people that you're like rooting against as well. But he seems like he wouldn't fit that archetype. He seems too lovely to be a snake, like he said. Like I just don't believe it. And maybe he's got me fooled as well.
Give us like a 15-second narration of a challenge going on.
All right, so we've got two teams, right? Two squads. They're both going out. Wait, let me restart this because I got to think of a challenge.
Esports commentator.
What I do in esports is what Jeff does on Survivor. Jeff does all the shot calling, and that's exactly what I do in the video games. I've been traveling all around the world. I've been all the way to Saudi Arabia, casting $2 million Fortnite tournaments. When I'm watching Survivor, the second the challenge starts, I'll mute it, and then I'll start commentating over the challenge, and then I'll rewind it, and then listen to how Jeff does it and see like where I can improve, because I mean, Jeff is the GOAT of it, so you know, you got to learn from the best. I feel like people's first impressions of me are going to be, man, this guy is loud. I don't know if this guy's got a lot going on upstairs, but guess what? I like to think that I'm smart. I took an IQ test. It was like 135. I don't know how accurate it is, but hey, I'll take it. I got a lot of things up my sleeve that a lot of these players aren't going to be able to see just from looking at me. And so I'm going to be a very, very scary player. And I truly believe I'm by far one of the biggest threats out here to win this game.
Jerome Cooney. Really like him. Really, really like him. So far for me, stands out the most out of all of the cast. Love his energy. Love the fact that, you know, I don't know, he's very articulate in regards to how he uses his words, obviously being a commentator. I think that he's going to be someone to look out for. But the problem is, dare I say, he's going to stand out because he comes across as almost the most normal out of the cast that I've seen so far. Like not necessarily an oddball. When I look at Jerome, I also feel like he's someone that will potentially overplay. Like he could have that JD energy to him as well. Like maybe he just plays too hard, too fast because, you know, Jeff loves to give people a bit of rope and he throws it out there and says, go at it, go hang yourself. And I feel like Jerome's one of those people that's not going to be able to sit on his hands and play a game where, you know, he's trying to ride that middle. He's going to stand out from the start. So I'm a little bit fearful. Like if he goes deep, he's going to be someone I'm going to love because he just seems like a great TV character.
It's just as green and vibrant and wonderful as it is on TV. I was thinking you guys had a little bit of a filter. It wasn't going to actually be this gorgeous. It's stunning. Water polo is like a game of viciousness. You're not seeing under the water. That's what the real war is. Kicking you underwater and like trying to drag on your bathing suit. People don't think I can fight. I can fight. And that is the mentality you have to have out here in Survivor, where people are attacking you, but you have to keep swimming. The way I approached business school was I basically craft my own Survivor major classes, like selling yourself and your ideas, power in organizations. This will help me in my professional life. but this will really help me in Survivor. I don't think I come across as smart as I appear. I'm strategic, I'm cunning, I'm ruthless, I'm willing to do what it takes to achieve and succeed. I'm perfectly poised to be the wolf in sheep's clothing, and that's why I'll be the sole survivor.
Caroline, like her, seems like someone I would get along with really well in general life. I'm really into sports, probably why I would gravitate towards the athletic types if I was out there more so than some of the oddball sort of characters. But then I say that, but I've also got a lot of oddball friends, so I'll probably be okay. I'll probably be able to find the middle ground there. But again, Caroline may stand out a little bit. She thinks that she's not going to come across as like very smart. I see a lot of drive in her face, even just on those still shots that they had, where people will look at that and be like, wow, she's going to be a force. She could be an immunity threat deep into the game. Maybe in the early stages with these small tribes, strength is so important. She'll be a lock to stay in a tribe because they're going to need that strong energy. Water polo is a legitimate sport. You've got to be super fit to be able to do that. And swimming is one of the best exercises. Like, I'm sure I don't have to tell everybody this, that you can do, because it just basically forces you to use your whole body throughout any like water sports. So I think that she's going to be competitive, and she's going to have a lot of the skills that's going to make her really good at this game. Probably a threat post-merge. Pre-merge, she's probably going to be an asset for her tribe.
If we sit next to each other on a plane, I will talk your ear off. And I literally have at least 6 or 7 contacts in my phone of so-and-so's name, airplane. I always thought I'm going to be married by 23. I'm going to have kids by 25, and I am 32 and single. What that has prepared me for is to be adaptable, because I don't know what Jeff is going to throw at us. All I know is that I have the ability to create strong relationships, and that's what's going to carry me through the game. If I see somebody that seems unapproachable, they seem impossible to work with, I'm going to want to make it happen, because I'm going to feel that personal satisfaction that I was able to win them over. Because I saw people like Marianne, Shan, Katora, seeing someone like me and thinking, hey, if they could do it, I could do it. And so if I could do that for some other girl out there, I think that's inspiring.
Aisha. So I believe Aisha is the one that the internet's been going wild on, because I believe she's a podcaster for RHAP. May have seen 1 or 2 clips with her in it as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, does she cover more so Big Brother on the show with Taryn? So I used to listen to a lot of RHAP before I started my own channel, and then since then I've kind of eased back, because I don't like listening to other content creators, because I don't want their thoughts and opinions to influence me and what I put out there. But obviously, being a podcaster like myself, and I'm trying to get onto Australian Survivor, and I will apply for Australian Survivor again next year, I can't not but shout for her to do well. Like, I want podcasters who talk about the show to represent and do well. And the one thing that did come across in this clip of Aisha is she, again, comes across as like just a very normal person, someone that I can relate to a little bit more. I feel like if I was out there, I would get along with her really well. And she's got very strong social energy. Like, I feel like she'll be a social threat if she was to play this game. So almost like, she mentioned Marianne there. Saru Fields comes to mind. Like, could she be someone that could play a similar social game to Saru Fields? It'll have to be seen. But if she talks about the show, she's probably very aware. And I know RHAP is like really into the strategy side of anything that they cover. Where for me, a lot of the times I just look at the show more from, do I like the character? Do I like the spectacle? I'm a little bit more casual in those observations. So I don't think this would be the right move to make in this scenario. But like she said, she's adaptable. Being 32, being single, that was not a part of her plan, and she's had to adapt to it. So, if you can be adaptable, I spoke about that earlier in this video. I think that is what's going to make you win, especially in New Age Survivor. So, love it, Aisha. I think she's going to do well this season. I hope she does well this season. Do it for the podcasters. We all will live through you this season, and hopefully you can take it to the end.
It used to be a cliche, and now it's not anymore. I want to make this a cliche again. I'm not here to make friends. Growing up, I had 2 older brothers, so I constantly had to watch them do things that I couldn't do just because I wasn't old enough. I had to figure out ways around those rules. It's kind of how I learned to operate within the world. You can cut corners, lie, cheat, and steal to get ahead and get little advantages that stack up throughout life. So I think being a talk show host is one of the perfect jobs to have coming into Survivor, knowing when it's your time to be the guy and take up all the air in the room, and when it's time to recoil and let something else take up that spotlight. It's all about working people. I don't care about these people. They don't mean anything to me before this game, and if they don't mean anything to me after this game, it's not going to change my life at all. I'm here to build a legacy in the game that I love and walk away with $1 million. That's it.
I like him. Gabe Ortiz. Like I said earlier, the show needs a heel. I could see him be that heel. I could see him be someone that people are either going to love or they're going to hate. And they're going to be like, oh, this guy's an absolute DICK because he doesn't care about people around him. To be honest, that is my favorite kind of player. Like, I know people don't like, well, some people like the villains, some people don't like the villains. It's like they can be polarizing. But, you know, for me personally, seeing someone who actually treats this as a game, treats the relationships out there as a game, that is kind of something I enjoy seeing. But I think saying that you're going to do it and then actually being able to follow through and do it when you're out there and you're relying on these people for survival, I think there's this bond that gets formed that we as viewers just don't understand because we've never played this game, because you're literally starving with somebody next to you. It's like I've spoken about it many times on my channel, when you have people behind enemy lines in war situations where you know you need to have the back of the person next to you because they're also there for your survival. Like you're sleeping next to someone that's, and this is the things that they don't show us a lot of on the TV show anymore, but you know, you're sleeping next to someone that maybe is out there providing for you or keeping the fire on and things like that. So some people have got the ability to not care and just to emotionally not connect to the person that they're relying on for body heat in the middle of the night. And then other people can't help but care. And we've even heard Survivor players go out on the show saying that they're not going to care, and then they're like, oh, I came in here thinking I was going to treat everybody like numbers, but I can't. So I think there's this deep psychological thing that happens between players out there that is very hard for us to understand as fans. But love the energy he's coming in with. You should go out there to try and make your own legacy. I hope he does it, but more often than not, people overplay their hand when they're trying to become the next legend of the game. But you should always strive to be that. So at least from what I've seen in this clip, enjoy him. No problems.
But the problem is, I'm a terrible liar. So I don't know. I'm going to be really, really grateful if I'm here on like day 4. I am a corporate lawyer, which means my phone is going off all the time. So life is busy and chaotic and complicated and stressful, but I love it. It's not that I have a passion for the law, I really don't, but I have a passion for problem solving and for people. And so that's going to help me out here. I will absolutely not be telling people that I am a lawyer. Post 45, hell no. 3 out of the final 6 were lawyers. There's no way that I can tell people I'm a lawyer, or they'll be like, "Kate, nice to meet you. Bye."
No one thinks that. If you're out there playing the game, I mean, I wouldn't. Maybe that's an American thing, like that I just don't get as a non-American, but who cares that you're a lawyer? Like, lawyers are the only people who care about lawyers being lawyers playing this game, in my mind. Like, I don't think your profession has anything to do with your ability to win this game. You get good lawyers and bad lawyers. You get good cops and bad cops. You get, you know, people can, like, it's your personality. Why do people believe that their job defines who they are as a person or a threat in a game such as Survivor? It's, to me, it's absolutely dumb. I don't blame her for thinking that, and it doesn't make me necessarily dislike her, but I just feel like people should stop with that. Like, no one cares.
I got to be really careful about who I show the inner workings of my mind to. I'm going to win, and win by like unanimously, with no one ever voting for me throughout the whole game. And anything less than that will be a complete failure.
Okay.
The adjectives that I used to describe myself, or other people used to describe me, I'm just going to say it. Adorable. I don't know. Yeah.
Doctor.
Part of being an ER doctor is strategizing and prioritizing and triaging and just having that chaos at all times. Nights to days, gunshot wounds to stab wounds, just like that emotional whiplash. And like the ER trains me for that. You never know what's coming at you, but you still have to be in control of it. You have to know the strategy of what to do next. That's exactly what Survivor is. I was very strategic about when I came out. My parents, they would view this as a distraction. That's why I had to be so patient. And once I had achieved becoming a doctor, I could live my life. I wanted to prove that I can achieve anything I want to be, and that's regardless of my sexual orientation. Some of my extended family still don't know that I'm gay. And so they were like, maybe you could just pretend you're not. Hell to the no. I'm here to play and share everything about me. And here I am now.
Honestly, like, what is it with families that they're like we live in 2024 right now. Like, people can be whoever they want to be. Let them live their life. Let them be who they want to be. I understand there's probably like a cultural significance to it as well, that, you know, some cultures are more conservative than others. And, you know, for me, it's just like, I'm glad that he found his peace, and I'm glad that he is able to live his true self out there and be who he is. And, you know, so being successful at it as well as an ER doctor. He seems like a likable guy. Like, I get some almost yam yam kind of vibes from him, but not the over the top yam yam, but a little bit more like a conservative yam yam, but also that fun loving spirit and someone that will be able to connect with a lot of people. So I think he could do extremely well. It'll be interesting to see if he actually mentions to people he's a doctor. I guess the only thing with, like, I know I had this whole thing about who cares about what you do for a living. The only thing that I would say about that is if you're very successful in your profession, obviously it can count against you when it comes to the end of the game, when people have to decide who they give $1 million to, especially if you're sitting next to somebody that maybe doesn't have a very cushy life, you know. It shouldn't, in my opinion, influence people's decisions on who wins the game, but sometimes, depending on who the jury is, it could.
A lot of times when I'm around, people are laughing. I like to call myself a hoot.
Another Sierra.
I am actually a surgical nurse, so I work for a plastic surgeon. So I get to be that like surgical guide to walk all of these patients throughout the process. So really, I end up being a lot of time the therapist, and I really want to be somebody that my tri-mates can turn to and be like, "Hey, I'm feeling down." I feel like I can bring that to them. People look at me and just see a little tiara on my head. There's so much more to Sierra than just pageant Sierra. Being like a Phillies ball girl, playing softball my entire life, being in the service industry for over 12 years, to now being a registered nurse. And I was born for the game of Survivor. So I'm ready. I'm out here to play for my dad. He has gone through hell and back the last 2 years with like chemo infusions, blood transfusions. Wow. His last few words to me were just like, "Go get him, bud. Like, bring it home and, come home a millionaire." And that's what I'm going to do.
Seems really likable, seems really normal, and someone that you could get behind. What was her name? Sierra Wright. Yeah, it's just going to be, can she connect with everyone? So far, I've got to be honest, the cast seems really balanced to me. I'm not hating the cast so far. I'm actually kind of liking the cast. It feels balanced, which is good news.
I swallowed a bug.
Construction worker.
So I like to do this thing called the bump and run derby. There's lefts and rights, there's humps and bumps. And the main goal of the game is to cross the finish line. And if that means putting somebody into the wall along the way, so be it. It's been preparing me for Survivor because there's a bunch of different strategies that you could take, but there's only one of us that are going to cross that line. I grew up kind of rough, lived in a house that didn't have electricity. It was just a little bit of a fumble, but I met my fiance coming out of high school. She really inspired me to want to do more with myself. So the home where I did a lot of my growing up, I've demolished that home and decided to build our own home there. She just fueled a growth inside of me it's been remarkable. Oh, my Moose. That's my girl. Moose is my daughter. Given the fact that I grew up so rough, I've just wanted to create a really solid foundation for her.
Even more reason to bring home that money, right?
Yo, you know it. I'm bringing it home.
Now, looking at a guy like Kyle, this is the kind of guy you expect to see on Australian Survivor, like just blue collar, hardworking, underdog mentality. So far seems really likable and someone that I would want to root for in the season. Like, I don't necessarily want to see all these very successful people in life go out and play Survivor. Like, I like seeing people with a little bit of grunt behind them. And I'm not saying he's not successful. He probably is. He's doing a hobby that's probably quite expensive, doing the rally type driving that he does. And, seeing him work on the construction side and rebuilding that house, being crafty. I just feel like he's got a lot of good energy. Obviously, he could go out there and be a dud on the screen, and that would influence how much I like him in the actual season. But so far, so good. I really like seeing him play this game. No talk about strategy, though. So no idea if he's aware what's coming, and if he's going up against a bunch of people who are big fans of the show, which we know that they do get a lot more fan-like people on the show, it can be a disadvantage. So we'll have to see how it plays out.
I want to be remembered as the oldest woman to ever win Survivor. When I first got into the aviation industry, I'd have such a pushback from the men. I felt like they almost laughed at me. So I'm going to keep pushing forward, and none of them mattered. Now I have a really successful flight school, and everyone in the area knows who we are. We need more women in the aviation industry. Only 6% is women. My goal is to try to open this up to women. They need to be empowered, and I was totally underestimated. Coming here, I feel it's going to be very similar. These people look at the old person, they think they're the weak person here. Between my work ethic and my level of competition, they're gonna soon realize that they're gonna want me here. And my grandson will always remember his grandma kicking butt on Survivor.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough for Sue this season. I am underestimating her probably already, just like she said, everybody will out there. But smaller tribes, assuming that they haven't changed that format going into this season, if her tribe is a losing tribe right off the bat, unless she's made a very strong connection and there's this female thing where they're like, we got to get a male out first, get the numbers type of thing, I see her being in trouble more often than not at a first tribal council.
Even now, I just sit here and I see like ants and bugs crawling. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? So when I was 14, I was diagnosed with FSGS. It's a pretty rare kidney disease. I had 50% kidney failure by the time I found out anything was even wrong with me. And I was told by 3 different doctors that I wasn't gonna make it. Nothing's gonna be as bad as dying, right? So I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't really care what adversity I face. I'm just excited to be in all of this and just experience it all. Been wanting to play football my whole life. My sickness and illness, I couldn't play anymore. So I just told myself, if I can't play in the NFL, I'm going to work for the NFL in some type of capacity. I'm in athlete marketing. I essentially play a middleman between partners and players. You're dealing with all types of people in my line of work. You got people who's from a country town all the way in middle Tennessee somewhere, and then you have a guy who's from urban New York. I have to treat them the same, and I have to work with them the same. So I think that'll help me here as well.
Like him, obviously the athletic, sporty type, like I've said, that's kind of what I like on the show more so. And I definitely don't want all of them, just so people know, because I know there's going to be people who are like, oh, Chris only likes the athletic type. Like, I think there's diversity is needed on the show when it comes to athletic people, the oddball people, like everything. So I have to say, pretty optimistic about this cast so far. Seems really balanced.
When you hear Hawaii, you think vibe, go with the flow. But in reality, I'm going to be cutting throats. So I'm hoping they think I'm just here for a fun little ride. But they have no idea what's lurking under the surface. I'm constantly seeing where I can grow and evolve as a human being. I was a Division I college athlete, got my master's in educational leadership in policy, and I am a flight attendant for Hawaiian Airlines, but I do want to become a pilot. Winning that $1 million is going to help a lot with pilot school. I was an alternate for season 45. I was obviously pissed. However, looking back on it, I'm so grateful that Hannah stuck it out for those 2 extra days. And I know that things are going to work out the way they're meant to work out. We will be deplaning shortly, aka Jeff snuffing your torch. As you proceed out of the aircraft, go ahead and shaka back to us because it was not personal. We still love you anyway.
Tiana Halums. Seems like a fun character, cutting throats, energetic. Obviously, Hannah did play that season, so let's see what she can do coming into this season now. I know the fans were up in arms and still not overly happy about her quitting that season myself. It's hard when you haven't played the show. You don't know what it's like going out there. But, you know, we spoke about that on that season. They need to vet better, make sure that they do some resilience testing on people before they go out there and play the game. But, yeah, really excited to see what Tiana can do this season.
Find an idol, but idols are like curses now. So individual immunity works just fine for me. That one I don't have to overthink. My first memory is me and my brother sitting cross-legged as Jeff is reading the votes in Survivor Cook Islands. We're just chanting, Ozzy, 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 as Jeff reveals the last vote.
Wrong person, though. Really cool that you watched it, but Yule was the better winner.
Yule, tears. We are like distraught. You would have thought our dog died. Sports and Survivor were like two of my things growing up, and I hit the age where you kind of realize, okay, not going to be a professional athlete for a living. How else can I get involved? Sports reporting gave me an outlet. I think in sports reporting, you have to know how to stroke an ego, how to ask the right question to get information out of people. I've kind of fine-tuned those skills. I've always been a little bit more than just the sports guy. I did musical theater. I did drama. I wrote poetry. As soon as you've made a connection with me, like the vulnerability comes flowing out. So I'm not afraid to show a little waterworks sometimes.
Seems like a fun guy. I love the fact that he is more than what you see outwardly. Like you just said, there's so many different things that he's into. Like he seems like a fun guy. He seems like he'll connect with a lot of people. He's a bit younger though, so it could be like the Sammy of the season. But love his energy. Seems fun. Seems normal. Doesn't talk about too much about strategy. Did shout for the wrong person, so maybe he has grown from that and now appreciates Yule's win. Nothing against Aussie, obviously, but Yule's king. Let's be honest.
My bucket list consists of everything from day 1 to day 26 that could possibly happen. I want to do everything. I've been developing my social game in life since I was about this big. I grew up dressing like a boy, wanted no attention for it, so had to distract them from having questions about me. That's really taught me how to just befriend any type of personality. In college, I was surrounded by people in sororities, and working in the technology industry, it is alpha male sales bro personalities. I know how to get along with anybody, and even people that I don't like so much. Like, I know how to make them like me. The energy that I'll bring forth is a pickpocket from the Oliver Twist universe, stealing their trust, their hearts, their spot in the final 3, and before they know it, they voted for me and I won.
I like it, them. I don't know if it's a they, them, or if it's a her. I don't want to speculate either. I know people will come at me being angry about that. But Teeny seems like they'll be fun to watch this season. And being able to fit in with different types of personalities and things like that, I think is important. Like I could see them going really deep into the game, to be honest.
God, why am I crying so much right now? I don't do this. I don't like talking. Just...
Do we have another Banu? Please tell me we don't have another Banu.
I help people with neurodegenerative disorders like Parkinson's disease. I'm just the rep. Neurosurgeons implant electrodes in the part of the brain that affects your movement. They're tremoring like crazy, and then all of a sudden, in an instant, those tremors are gone, and it's a great feeling. I've won over 200,000 playing poker tournaments. When I make a move, I'm not lying to you. I'm bluffing you. I can take that emotion out because in the end, this is the game, the best game ever. Obviously, there aren't many Koreans in Oklahoma, so I stood out right away. It was rough. I got picked on a lot, but I also always stood up for myself. It turned me to the man I am today. In order to be the best you can be, you're gonna suffer. And so I think if I embrace how difficult it's going to be here, it's going to make it that much easier.
Seems likable. Seems like a really likable guy. Like I said, shout out to Survivor Geek. Go check out his channel and make sure to subscribe to that as well. That's where I got that video from. Go give it a view. Overall, I've got to say, came into this season not knowing what to expect from the cast. And I think last season for me, I was really not that big of a fan of that season. 45 was strong. It was my favorite season for the new era. I thought D was an excellent winner. I like winners that actually you follow their journey from the beginning and you're like, it makes sense. They were a strategic player. They made some strategic moves throughout the game. And I think her ultimately getting one over Austin in the end, really, for me, I had to tip my head to that. Like, I had to tip my hat or head. I had to tip my hat makes more sense. I had to tip my hat to it, right? And I just give credit where it's due. She really impressed me that season, and the last season wasn't that for me. Outside of, I know a lot of people didn't like Q. I thought Q was probably the most entertaining part of the season heading into the end, but I kind of came in with very low expectations of what we could get from a cast this season. Looking at this cast, I feel like it's well balanced. I really do feel like it's well balanced. We probably do need to look at what the tribes are going to look like at some stage, because that could also determine how the season's going to play out. Like, do they have unbalanced tribes, for instance? Gatu, which is going to be the yellow tribe, who's got Andy, Annika, John, Rachel, Sam, and Sierra. Yeah, okay, so very interesting. Andy was a little bit like, I kind of liked him. He was the AI guy. I think he potentially could fit in with like a John with that energy that he's got. I feel like Sam will be the one that's a little bit the oddball out of this group, maybe. Sam and Sierra could get along pretty well. Definitely could see the girls in this group being strong together, and John easily working with the girls, putting Andy and Sam on the outs. That could be my early predictions on this one, but they look like a pretty solid tribe when I'm looking at it. If we look at Lavu, which is the red tribe, we've got our favorite girl Aisha in there repping it for the podcast world. We've got the Kim Spradling 2.0 person in there, and Genevieve. We've got Kashan, who was very fun, liked his energy as well. Rome was like absolutely someone I enjoyed, but I feel like could overplay early on. Then we've got Soyi and Tini. I do think that in this tribe, I don't know where this tribe's going to go, but it feels balanced. I'm hoping Aisha's got enough strategic nous or skills to get these people on his side in this tribe, but it's a bit of an out there tribe. Let's look at the blue tribe really quickly, which we haven't looked at them yet. Caroline, which I really liked. I like Kyle. I like TK from this tribe. Gabe seemed like a fun guy as well. Definitely Sue, I think, is in trouble unless she can get like that girl thing going, or she gets that mom energy vibes with a Kyle or a Gabe, or just somebody there that's like, I want to keep you because you're trustworthy. And numbers definitely matter in Survivor. But overall, the tribe seemed kind of balanced. It seems like a fun season. I probably won't go into too much more than that, but I wanted to react for the very first time to the cast this season. I haven't read anything in regards to Survivor. Like I said, I've had a proper off-season break, but I'm excited. Tell me, who's your favorite? Like, if I had to choose one person right now heading into the season that I feel like could win the season, who would it be? Who would it be out of all of these people? I think Aisha's going to be a threat. I think her knowledge of the game, if people don't recognize her as a podcaster, as someone that has first-hand experience of being close to someone who's played the game, like a Rob's sister Nino, who would have definitely given her some advice getting into the season. She could be a threat. She could go deep, and I don't want to just put it on her only and have that cop-out moment there. The other person that I probably quite liked, like, I'm going to go for who I would like to win the season, but who I don't know if they're going to be able to play within themselves. And I really like Rome. His energy stood out for me. So Rome is the person that if I had to go somewhere, I'm going to put it on Rome. Rome, do us proud out there. Show us what esport commentators can do. Loved his energy, but I'm afraid that he may overplay. Thank you so much for watching this content. If you do like it, subscribe to the channel, please. Hit a like button. Comment below. Let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what your thoughts are on this season. And like I said in an earlier video, we will be doing 2 recaps. One will be an official recap with Drew, Coach Drew, and Jake this season. And then there will be a second show, which myself and Kahuna will do with the international perspective, both of us being in Australia. And we will try and focus on the lighter side of things. And I'm really hoping that this season is going to be a fun season that we're all going to love to talk about and get into. But plenty of content coming. So please subscribe, support the channel if you want to support a small podcasting community, but a very active and loyal fan base here. We like to get live commenters into the conversation. And especially if you're in Australia now, we'll have a live show in Australian time that's going to fit or suit people in the Australian time zone on Monday every single week here in Australia. And then we'll have a live show that will be in the US with Jake and Drew. So hopefully we can get more live audience members coming in from both sides, because we do have a big group of US and Australian viewers of this channel. Thank you so much, guys. Grab your torch, head back to camp, and I'll catch you next time.